Welcome to the PD Chat Show. I'd like to introduce my regular panel guests. Without these guys, I would be absolutely lost. So thank you very much to Mr. Pete Cater. Give us a wave.
Hello there.
And also Mr. Rob Bryan. How are you?
Hey, I'm good, my man. Thank you. How are you?
Good. And our special, I'm very good. Yes, I said people hopefully might comment in a second. I'm trying to get it up. I've had my barnet cut, and I feel absolutely fine. If you're a bit worried about it, it's absolutely safe. I had about it all depends what you call safe, but I had nearly 3.5 to 4 inches off the back of my hair. That's how long it grew. But apart from that, all well. But there's enough about me. It's nothing about me. Let's welcome our special guest, Mike Sleath. So, Mike, welcome. How are you, young man? You're over in Canada.
Canada, Toronto, Canada. Yeah.
So how's it over there at the moment?
COVID wise?
Well, no, personally wise.
Well, the weather is fine. It's very difficult to talk about anything other than COVID at the present moment. But I mean, yeah, it's good.
Good.
Good. Going to the beach.
Well, if you can go to the beach, that's fantastic. So, as your regular members will know, I'm actually still trying to get your comments up. But say hello if you want to write any kind of comments. Basically, ask questions the panel, Mike in particular. Then please do, and I'll do my best to read as many as I possibly can out. So we always start with the topic. So, Mike, I'm going to come to you first because you are our guest, after all. Now, there's a lot of things that actually happen within the process from basically recorded to live. And I want to know, how do you interpret the stuff that you get? From any kind of person that comes on, got an album, that kind of stuff. How do you interpret that recording and make it into a live performance? What's your adaptation of that?
So I guess in a lot of ways, some songs are very obvious. It's very you could tell a drummer played it, and it's very easy to just replicate because you could just play that beat. But there's a lot of instances, especially with Shawn's music, where it's just a lot of different samples layered over top. So maybe there might not be actually be a snare on it. It's just like a clap or something, and then there might not actually be a kick drum. It's like a briefcase thud or something. So trying to replicate all these, and I should add, a lot of times they're not programmed by an actual drummer. So it's just somebody putting together a bunch of rhythms. So now the real challenge for me is just trying to take that and have all the elements, and keep the integrity of the recording and everything, but also making it fun for live. So so that's a huge challenge. But what I've kind of incorporated a lot of electronics and that kind of thing to sort of help, the whole process and stuff. But so pretty much I have triggers over all of my drums. So so every single drum can change. So I can layer a clap or all this kind of stuff. What else do I do? I have 3 different snares. So I have a really little 10-inch popcorn snare, and then I use a really deep banda snare that LP mix. So it's I forget the exact. I think it's 8.5 deep or something, and It has a lug. Like there's lugs every couple inches. I don't remember the exact amount, but there's twice as many lugs as a normal kind of snare drum. But with that, it's very versatile. So I can turn it from song to song. I can turn it into a really tight sort of marching kind of snare drum, or take the snares off and it becomes almost like a timbali kind of situation. So that's the struggle, I guess, coming up with all those different samples on the fly and being able to change it from song to song.
Have you been stumped by a sound at all? That obviously, just for people out there who not quite aware of Mike, I don't know why. Where have you been? But he's the drummer of Shawn Mendes at the moment. So has there been a sound or something that he wanted? You're going, well, I haven't got a clue where this is going to be coming from.
Yeah, there's been things like that. He'll Shawn at least will get a lot of things. He'll get an idea in his head or something, and he'll he'll sort of like get out his phone and make a voice note of this thing, and it's just kind of him like beatboxing to the phone. So then you're kind of going and you're listening through, and he's just doing it on the fly, just from whatever he's feeling. And then so you're kind of like, oh, so is that sound a kick, or is that a kick and a crash, or is that a tom? So yeah, but he's very good at articulating exactly what he wants. So it always ends up working out. But there has been those moments. I can't really think of one specific one right now. But
Right. Okay.
you know what? There is one. There's this one song where on the recording it's almost like a cowbell, but I tried using all these different cowbells over this part, and the cowbells just weren't working. So LP they have this whole series of pots, and they're called LP pots, POTZ. And so I stumbled upon this and started using it, and it like was absolutely the sound. But all along I was playing it on a cowbell, like dum 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 dum, and it kind of had that sound, and it was not working. So LP pots.
LP pots. Yeah. Obviously, you can use them for many things as well as
Yeah.
piano. Well, brilliant. Thank you very much for that insight there. Rob, would it come to you? Obviously, we all know that you're into the studio side of it. Is there any kind of is there any sort of technique that you use to basically interpret? Because obviously, you sometimes have the concept of an actual song, don't you? You're actually in the process. But basically, so when you go out, it's like, how do you come about those kind of, creating those sounds to theoretically? Because obviously, eventually, some things can be played live, aren't they? So
Yeah, sometimes by me, sometimes by somebody else. I try to spend as much time as I can with the artist, just trying to get inside their head, really. Like Mike said, you just, if they say, I think it's this sort of sound, I think it's that, and they've given me a demo, and demo-itis is really easy to get. And I've worked with a lot of artists that I've brought loads of different contraptions and made up sounds and sampled things and layered them in the studio to say, oh, I think it's this sound. Give me another half an hour, and I think I've got this. Sometimes I'm like, oh, I want to go with my demo, and I didn't realize, but it's called demo-itis, where you get so used to what you've heard for the last 6 months or 6 weeks, whatever, that the artist in the end just wants that sound. And in which case, then, if it isn't something that I've come up with that sounds like it, that I know I can recreate live if I do get the chance to get the gig, or if I have got the gig already, I know I can reproduce it live.
right.
Then we have to go about thinking, okay, there is that sound. Like Mike said, it could be the sound of like, a cow's head hitting a barn door or something. It's like, sorry, vegetarian, and that should include me.
Sorry if there's any cows watching.
Yeah. Okay.
Other wildlife and stock are actually available to smack heads on board. That's fine.
Only drummers were hurt in this particular experiment. Yeah, and then you have to go about recreating that. It's a difficult process, but as I've said before, when we talk about these things, I love that side of it. Hence why I do a lot of work in the studio. I love that. I love stroking the chin and saying, how can I create this sound? And as I say, if it's going out and another drummer's playing it, obviously they're going to take that sample with them, and that'll be, it's out there then. But if it's me, then it goes in my SPDS or on my laptop, and it's there. It's like boom, like Mike said, it's there. Just put the trigger on, boom, we've got that sound, and it sounds like the record. But it's an amazing creative process, and I do love it, and I don't like being stumped. I like just trying and trying and trying and trying. And with some artists, you don't always get there 100%, but then thankfully the producer will say, I think we've got it. And on a tea break, they'll say, we haven't really got it, but it's as close as we're going to get, because we have to move on.
Yeah.
And that's cool too.
Yeah. Yeah, fantastic, Pete. You've obviously we all know you. Basically, after last week that you've actually went into Abbey Road and studio number 2 with our sort of Ringo special. Is there anything, because obviously you do play a lot of the live music that obviously you've heard. Is there anything special that you try and listen out for and try and replicate, or do you try and put your own sort of touch onto the actual?
Very, very much depends on context, really. I mean, a lot of the stuff I play is like historical repertory music, and I don't ever try to replicate what an original drummer played on an original recording, whether with a lot of the kind of things that I do, whether it was Buddy or Sonny Payne or Morris Pertel or whoever, it's just about getting a kind of an outline, just trying to, rather than troubling myself with the specifics of what got played 30, 40, 50, 60 years or more ago. It's about trying to capture the essence of what they were doing. And you just hearing the music from what era it is from is really a very good steer as to how it should be played. And I would never, because jazz music is not cover version music. There's never any kind of pressure to play exactly what somebody else played, but it's kind of a broader remit, if you will, where it's about playing the music in the way that it was intended to be played. So if you've been a drummer in 1940 or 1950 or 1960 or 1970, and you'd been presented with that chart for the first time, what would have been the right thing to do? And it's about dipping into the history of the instrument and just pulling out how all the guys sounded at a certain time, and just kind of grabbing the best bits and kind of recasting it in your own image. And that's something I like to do a great deal. I have such respect for all that classic music that I always try to play it the way it was intended to be played, the way the composers intended it, the way the arrangers intended it, the way the band leaders wanted it played the first time around. But as if I was doing that, I am mindful and respectful of all the great pioneers and the historical giants of the drums. But I try to play those charts as if I was playing them for the first time, but with that kind of mindfulness of what the remit is as far as how the music should be interpreted.
Yeah, well, as I say, it's great. So just a couple of shout outs. It's great to see all you regulars keep tuning in. Thank you very much for doing that. Mike Tubman, some new ones joined up. Shay Raj, Kenneth Rush, hello. Josh Holmes, Daniel Freakle, Richie Burns, John Lloyd, Aaron Manikota, Jim Argy, Dave Brown, and Mike Sleath. Don't know who he is. But yeah, thanks very much. But yeah, guys, as I say, remember, just
what the delays like on this.
but remember, guys, please, if you got a comment, story or something like that, what we're talking about, and also if you got any questions to ask the guys about anything to do with drumming, please, because we don't want to go too much off the topic, because I know these guys at the moment. Richard Lewis, hello, nice to see you. And also, if you're watching for the first time, please just like what we're doing on the page, the Palace Drum Clinic. There's lots of things going on, not just this week, but basically right on throughout the foreseeable future. I'll come to you again, Mike, because the second part to this question that we're basically talking about is that do you have to sort of change your your style, your playing, or anything like that for sort of the different kind of venues that you play? Because obviously you play loads of different venues with Shawn Mendes, don't you?
Yeah.
So is there a sort of concept where you think, big arena, I'm going to have to lay it, or smaller stuff? Then it's because I tell me if I'm wrong. Do you have the same setup for every single gig you do with Shawn?
For the most part, if it's not the exact same gear, it'll just be kind of like a backline sort of replica, kind of the exact same kind of thing. The thing I noticed I didn't have to change too much going to an arena, because I think I was already kind of playing that arena rock kind of drums, if you will. If I can put it in a big bubble. When I switched over to using triggers, that became a huge issue. You can't, as far as ghost notes go and stuff, you have to be very careful using that kind of stuff, because depending on what kind of sample you have on it, it can sound crazy. So there's no buzz rolls when you have claps on your snare as a trigger, because it will sound like it sounds you might not necessarily want to hear that. So I really had to change my playing to adapt to the triggers, which sounds kind of messed up, but I think it really adds a cool effect to the audience and stuff. Yeah, like, so with a trigger, you know, I try to just go boom, 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 boom. I do the big, you know, the like most like unsyncopated fills you could possibly do. Everything is very, very straight. Just, and I noticed that was a lot more effective with the with all the triggers and stuff.
Could you just explain for the audience and anyone who's not don't know about the triggers and everything else? So these are the triggers on here, kind of stuff that makes different sounds. But you got obviously the brain does a lot of the work. But can you just describe, just like for instance, how you layer and why you layer, and you know, how do you get those different sounds from that layer on just one particular drum, please?
Yeah. So so the way we use it, I don't use any of my triggers to replace my drum sound or anything like that. It's only to embellish on what's already there. So if your drums don't sound good and you're putting on triggers to make your drums sound good, I think that's the wrong approach. What we do is we start off with hopefully kick-ass sounding drums. Like, you know, we always try to make the drums sound amazing. And then I'll put on the triggers to do things like claps and stuff, maybe very affected, like chain kind of sounds. So it'd be like, you know, boom, boom, you know, stuff like that. Things that it would take me so much time to kind of put together. You know, in a live setting, it's got to be like, I need my drums to completely change sound, like in between songs. So we do a lot of that kind of stuff. And then the thing I think is really cool is every now and again, they'll totally turn off my drums at front of house and have only the triggers going. And there's a couple portions in, I guess, the last show. We're starting to build a new show, so I don't know what we're going to do for this one. But we had this stuff where we'd have my triggers hands panned like left or right. So it would be, I would go across the toms and it would go dun 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 dun, but like the lights would go with it. So it'd be like, or there was things where I would do a fill and like the lights behind me would go like, they're mostly really simple fills, but I know how to do some other fills, but that's my kind of favorite. That's my go-to. And yeah, so then the lights would do what the kind of the triggers are doing and stuff. And so it's just really effective. So we kind of use them for that. And we use like stuff like just crazy samples. I have this thing called a Pancake Gong drum, which is just, I don't know if you've ever seen these. It's just like essentially a gong drum, but a really, really shallow one. Just because I want to get the big one, but it doesn't fit in my kit nicely, you know, stuff.
Too heavy to carry.
Yeah, it's too heavy, and I don't know, I just can't get it placed nicely. So I get one with the Pancake Gong drum, but we throw these crazy like sub drops and stuff. So that layered with the natural sound of the gong drum, which if it's mic'd at the proper spot, sounds kind of like a sub kick anyway. But then we toss on just a little extra on it, you know. So stuff. That's kind of how we use it.
Brilliant. Again, a couple of hellos. We've got lots of people watching tonight. Thank you very much. John Lloyd's watching. Which said to Germans like Richie Burns says, Mike, do you play traditional grip or both? So or match based. I think match grip or traditional. I think it's trying to say. Or both. If
somebody says, I'm not a great jazz player. As hard as I try, it's not. You know, I would never get hired to play a jazz gig. So if somebody says, hey, play some jazz, I'm normally like, yeah, okay, and I'll go traditional. But match grip is always I feel most comfortable.
Go to, okay. Ian Stocks, hello. Adam Match Chado, Vicky Hockey, Hockley, sorry. Danya, also Pierce, Richard Burn. Yeah, well, thank you so much, guys, for watching. Philip Green, Ian Stocks again, they're actually brilliant. Rob, same question to you. Do you change your style, or depends on, you know, because a lot of stuff I know you and Pete do are very acoustic. Do you have to change your style to that, and vice versa for the different venues?
Yeah, I mean, when I played with Susie compared to Lorena, they're two different things. With Lorena, and both I played traditional grip. We had this conversation, didn't we, with Ian, and he was a bit naughty, wasn't he? But I play both gigs. So one's a punk gig with Susie Sue, like punk legend, and the other is Louis McKinnett, who's a Celtic folk artist, Canadian artist. And between them, they couldn't be more different. So, with Lorena, I'm playing, still got a big kit, 2 rack tom, 2 floors, a few different cymbals. I've got the Darabuka, I've got the Roland SPDS and so on. But I'm playing very thin sticks, the Bopwork sticks, the Birdlands. And I don't have a screen around me because she doesn't want that. She's playing the grand piano maybe 4 foot away from me. I'm on a 2 or 3 foot drum rise, and I can see her between my 12-inch tom and my ride. There's no clicks. Now, with that gig, it's almost like a classical gig, classical pseudo jazz in volume. But when I'm playing with Susie, it's like balls to the wall. It's much more of a Stuart Copeland back drop with the left hand. And like Mike was saying, I'm playing with triggers. And also, like your first question, I had to recreate all of Budgie's drum parts, who was a drummer in the Banshees in the heyday. So I had to recreate all that stuff. But, when you said about how do you have to play in bigger places, Mike is absolutely spot on, man. There's no point trying to do anything else that is tricky-dicky because you're not going to hear it. And it's not needed. I remember once a sound man took me, he was in America, to the sound desk and got the drum tech to hit the drums when I was sort of 1,000 miles away over there in the middle of the room. And he said, okay, go for it. So he started playing and he started doing these things and it was just lost. And he looked at me and he said, this is what your problem is. This is many years ago. You need to learn how to play for these rooms. Yeah. And, it was kind of kicking the bottom when I was about 20, 24 or something. And from then on, whenever I've played in those conditions, I'm like, I know exactly what you need. You don't need me to try and be flash because there's just no point. It's not going to get past me. No one else is going to hear it. And then setting up the triggers as well. Like Mike said again, if you try and do grace notes, you get... It sounds like a seal going crazy on your snare drum, Mike. It's insane. So, and actually, again, it makes you think very differently about your drum parts, doesn't it? You really think, what is important in this song? Of course, it's the 2 and the 4 and the bass drum, right? So let's forget all the other stuff. And then when you see all those hands going and the clapping, you just think, and they're bobbing up and down, you think, great, I'll save all the other stuff for a different gig. This gig does not need that. It's a million. I totally agree.
We played the first time we played Wembley was for this thing called it's the Capital FM Summertime Ball or something. Yeah. And so it's a variety show where there's probably 30 artists that play, and I think we opened the first time or something. And so throughout the day, I walked through the crowd. I walked all the way up to the 500 section and all this stuff to hear what all these different drummers were doing. And I noticed every single time the drummer who was doing the crazy, really fast fills that are probably really cool, they didn't come across. They did not, even just with the amount of air movement there, by the time it hits the second set of speakers, it just sounds like, and it's like, you would be way better off just going, bop, bop, boom, boom. Because that goes all the way out there. Sorry.
No, please just jump in.
Yeah. For young drummers to learn out there, I think.
Yeah.
Definitely, for getting the right part and thinking about why certain drummers at certain gigs do things that are more open. That's why.
Well, I think we all get to that moment where you're kind of coming up to the end of a section. You're like, oh, just wait till they hear this fill. This fill is really, this is you could tell this in the crowd, and then you get to it and you play the fill, and you're like, what the hell? They didn't even notice it. Okay, because it's not about that fill. It's about whatever the singer's about to sing, or about what you're like.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I think it comes back to are you playing for the song or are you playing for yourself? Isn't it really?
Both are good reasons.
Yeah, exactly.
But if you want to get hired, you got to play for the song.
Yeah. Pete, I know you've said a lot of stuff about this, recently on this, and obviously, drum camp and all that kind of stuff, and the stuff that you've been doing, the last few months. How important is when you could basically go for auditions and stuff like that to actually play the stuff that they want you to hear rather than what you think they should hear?
Auditions, what are they? I haven't done an audition in about 35 years.
Well, I suppose an audition can actually literally be like when you're actually doing a gig and you've got people watching you, haven't you? So
Well, yeah,
yeah.
well, if we reframe that and say when you're going into a situation for the first time,
Yeah. Okay.
I'm always mindful of what I think is the right thing to do in any circumstance, and these are just the the life skills that you pick up as a professional working drummer over decades and decades and decades, and but at the what it all boils down to is you have to do what you think is right for the music, and you have to retain your own integrity and think, well, I think this would be good if it played this way, and if I had this kind of snare sound and this kind of ride cymbal sound and this kind of hi-hat sound, and you have to trust your own judgment, and sometimes you're going to be right and sometimes you're going to be wrong, and that's just the way of the industry. And I'm a really good sight reader. I'm not a great mind reader, but you just have to trust your judgment and do what you think is right for the context of what it is that has to be played. Sometimes people can be very, very specific in where detail is concerned. They'll not tell you exactly what they want, and I really like that. So I'm a pretty good drum mimic. I mean, one client I've been recording a lot for in the run-up to lockdown, and actually since lockdown, I did actually manage to go up to London and do a session for him. He's very specific from one song to the next. He said, I want this one to sound like Ed Green. I want this one to sound like Jim Gordon. I want this one to sound like Vinny. I want this one to sound like Pete Thomas. And he'll actually specify records. He said, play me a feel like Girls Talk by Dave Evans. I say, right, I'll do that. And when people are that clear, they know exactly what they want. Then that's just a breeze. That's the best fun of all, when you can kind of just go onto YouTube on your phone and listen to 8 bars of a classic song. They're right. That's where the drums are. This is what he wants. You just play it right back to them.
Do you prefer that way, or do you actually prefer like, well, actually, I'm going to try and put my own touch on something that they think they might.
Again, this is the great divide between sight reading and mind reading, and this is one of these great industry paradigms that young players who are coming forward as professionals need to learn about. And sometimes people will book a drummer because they need some guy to play the drums. Then you get to a position in your career where people book a drummer because they want that guy to play the drums. And then you get to a point in your career where people will say, get me a younger version of that guy. This is all about career path. And people, I remember back in the early days, people would book me because they needed a competent drummer. They didn't care about who I was or what I could do. And then as you get a reputation and you develop your skill set and you maybe specialize in certain areas of music, then people will book you because you're you and you think you can bring a particular thing to the table, which is, to me, that's one of the great kind of milestones in a career, where people book you because of the way you play. But rather than they say, oh, I think Pete or Rob or Mike or Matt will be good for this, and they call you, rather than saying, oh, I need somebody to play the drums. And it's a very, very it's quite a subtle difference, but it's nonetheless a difference where people book you because they know you can deliver a certain thing, and I think that's probably my favorite.
Yeah, I think. Well, if anyone's out there, so if they want a younger version of me, well, you've got it now, so I look a lot younger, so we're fine in that sense.
I don't know. I think you look older. You should have kept the hair.
Well, okay, thank you. Well, that's what my little daughter said. Yeah, my little daughter said, it's like, why did you have your hair cut? Can we have the old one back? It's like, Too late, sweetheart. As like, guys, thank you out there. There's been some lovely keep your comments coming, keep your stories going. Obviously, there's a lot aimed towards Mike. I'll try and spread them out as much as we can. Richard Horton, thanks for watching. Just a quick one for Rob. Rob, do you recreate Budgie's drum parts faithfully or just wing it?
Who said that?
I'm not going to tell you.
It's one of my friends, isn't it? A few programs ago, we talked about this. Absolutely to the button. Even sped up at the times he sped up. We actually made sure the clicks sped up at the right times at the end of the songs, like punk bands would do. We got everything down to the finest detail. So, yeah, I did recreate it because on that show, I said I didn't want fans writing in saying, "Who's this guy trying to play Happy House in 7?"
Yeah. Or,
why is he playing these Billy Cobham type try-to fills over this? And it's just not worth it. Like Mike said earlier and Pete said, repeatedly, rightly so, you don't do that when you want the gig. You go to the gig to please the people. They've employed you because they know you can do it. So do what they want you to do. Don't go in and
do you know what?
Show.
Do you know what? This brings in a wider point and it's a very important point at the moment, the situation that we find ourselves in globally, of how we as musicians, artists, the people we play with, the people we work for, we really got to get some goodwill from the people who are generous enough to part with their money and come and buy tickets to shows. Yeah. So that means if they want to hear all the old hits, if they want to hear certain stuff, then we have to respect that and not play the new album. They don't want to hear the new album. They don't. It's like the classic. What is it? Puppet Show and Spinal Tap. Jazz hands. We hope you like our new direction. They don't want your new direction. They want the old direction. They want that comfort, that musical comfort zone that made them happy for whatever reason earlier in their life. Because that's why they've paid money to come and hear what you do. And you could be working with the original artist, or you could be playing in a tribute show that's playing, versions of classic songs that make people happy. And this is why music is important to people. And music is important to people, not because they know, all the, what the notes are in a C13 chord. They just have this kind of this organic response to how music makes them feel. Absolutely. This is what we have to be very mindful of as we slowly take these tentative little baby steps back into the public arena to entertain people. And everybody needs to just kind of spare a thought for that, because if we really are going to need audiences like we've never needed them before right now, and the trade-off is we've got to give them what they want. A whole evening of original compositions, none of which are less than 9 minutes long, is probably not going to, not going to hit the spot right now. So, so people will use pejorative terminology here, and they'll say things like, "Oh, you're being too commercial," or "You're selling out." No, you're not. You're selling, and it's the difference between what some people call populist and what is actually popular. And what we have to do now is we got to win back the audiences, and we got to do it however we can.
Yeah. And to be honest, we'll be happy playing whatever. Yeah. Well done, Pete. Well done, Pete. He's done well.
You know me. I have a you call it a cajon, I call it a soapbox.
Yeah. There we go.
Hey!
Hi, Glyn Jones. Gentleman watching from Derby. Hi, Gordon. Kevin Pitt's watching. Richard Burns. There's lovely stories on Richard Burns. Ben Broadway. Sen Clevis Avis is watching. Lovely stories. It's a two-parter to you, Mike, which I think actually you can actually put into one. We've had a question from. I think one of your fans. Let me just find it. Julie Horn. Hello. Hi from France. the question is, it's all about. There we go. The two questions. So, hey, Mike, can you talk a little about the process of building your kit for the tour? I think you've touched a little bit on that, but how important is Zubin? Is it Zubin that you're just
Zubin.
Zubin,
Yeah.
or are you just hand them a list of equipment that you want? And it's obviously, this question is like, on tour you said, this is from Adam Matchdado, is it? You have a question that you have a Roland SPDX and an IK, that's for claps and effects, but what does the KT10 pedal do? So I suppose that's the whole kind of tour process of the kit and actually that pedal as well.
So while it's fresh on my brain, the KT10, I actually have one. I got one somewhere. It's just it's an electronic kick pedal. It's essentially the exact same thing as if you just set a normal bass pedal up to like an electronic kick, but it's just kind of nice, and it's just an all-in-one kind of unit. Feels really nice. So I use that for whenever I want a sound that's just a programmed kick sound, has no acoustic element. Essentially, the kit that I had for the last tour, or that I put together, it had the ability to turn into just an electronic drum set, but it could also be an acoustic hybrid drum set. So I'm still figuring out what I'm going to do for this tour. I think I'm going to add a lot more electronics. I think I'm going farther that way because I think that's where the music is going in this particular case. So I guess we'll see. I haven't started really working on the new stuff, but I think it's gonna be more electronic. I've been like, I just got this one of the new Roland drum sets. I don't know if you guys have seen it. It is the Roland TD-27, I think, is one of the new ones. The Roland VID kit. So I work with Roland here in Canada, and just got the new kit. The brand new snare drum. Sorry, I feel like I've only been talking about electronics, but it's just been on the brain. All I've been doing is like working with electronics right now. But the new snares that they came out with, they plug in a USB. So the amount of dynamic information is insane. I've never experienced a snare like this. It's nuts. Like it's the best feeling electronic drum set I've ever performed on.
Can you play a buzz roll on it, like?
Yeah, and it doesn't sound crazy. Like buzz rolls never work on electronic drum. Like never work. This works. I'm not going to say it's as good as an actual drum set because it's not, but it works. Maybe you wouldn't want to do a buzz roll on it, but it sounds better than any electronic drum set I've ever heard. So I think my idea is maybe drop a couple of acoustic drums and maybe add a couple of these, just so I can get the actual specific sounds from like these new records and stuff. But, yeah.
Nice.
I don't know if that answered the question at all. I just went on some kind of tangent about electronic drums.
It's great. Well, great answer. I think obviously elaborate. It's fine. But what about obviously the kit? But I'd like to say to the Zubin, how much involvement they had, because I think what you'll most probably do when you'll get back is that you'll do like a little video, when you, of how you built your kit up for most probably rolling or stuff like that. So that will most probably be on a video. But how much involvement? Obviously, the question was at this point, how involved is Zubin? And then basically just handle the list of the equipment that you want.
So just like, if you probably don't know, Zubin is Shawn's musical director. So he's there, like we're constantly talking just about different sounds and all this kind of stuff. So the actual placement of where I kind of put things and all, that's, obviously that's just up to me, just for however I feel. But like the actual sounds and everything, we're constantly working together. His ear is like, he's got this crazy ear. If something's not totally right, he comes up with an idea, and then like there's another company called Big Fat Snare Drum. I don't know if you've ever used any of their products, but since I'm working just from a live, at least with Shawn, I'm just doing live stuff. I do studio stuff, but like, in this situation, I'm just doing live stuff. So yeah, they make these these products that like you can just absolutely change the sound of any drum on the fly, which is essentially like what we have to do. So like there's some times where you want that Ringo sound or something, where there's, you know, huge blankets over top of every single drum. But you probably can't do that in an arena, you know, like, because like, you know, you got lights and you got all this stuff. If you just have these massive towels all over your drums, maybe it won't look the best. Maybe it is the look you're going for. I don't think it's the look I'm going for. So so there's a company called Big Fat Snare Drum that make different thicknesses, different shapes, different all this kind of stuff. So I use a lot of that kind of stuff to completely change the sound. But yeah, so Zubin.
Great.
Zubin
Okay.
is right there everywhere.
I think Dana Pierce actually asked that question.
Oh,
yeah, there's a question. I'll just
Dana.
say, Rob's got a big fat pair of scissors, haven't you? That makes you makes your difference, doesn't it, between that? That's if you see any of these clips, it'll show you that kind of stuff. We've got Victoria Hockley. It's basically open to everyone, really. But Rob, we'll start with you, Mike, because you obviously aimed at you. Do you have a favourite drummer? Hers is Graham Edge from the Moody Blues, and also Geordie Marshall, who was obviously their second drummer for 25 years. Mike, do you have a favourite drummer?
I don't know. I always have a difficult time picking one. But I go through. It changes it changes like from week to week. But like, you know, my top ones, I always go back to like your Steve Gadd and Vinny and. Growing up, Travis Barker was the one, just because I didn't know any other music yet. You know, it was like, So then I gotta go with those three, probably.
Yeah.
If you,
that's fair. I will ask Mike and people. So we have covered this before, but Rob, favourite drummer. Favourite drummer at the moment. There we are.
At the
moment, there we are. Change it about.
Oh God.
What are you thinking about? So Paul Swindle says, "Oh, hello, Paul." So Picaro was just a great one, obviously, for that kind of stuff. Rob's still thinking. It's his age, you see. His clogs, you know, don't turn as fast as they used to.
You know, I don't think any drummer could say just one. It's impossible.
But at the moment, what's your favourite? Okay, well, who are your favourite drummers at the moment? Then, at the moment.
At the moment, I'm still listening a lot to Mark Giuliano. I love what he does.
Oh yeah,
very creative. I just love that. And Kendrick, Scott, I think he's great too. I'll just use those two for now. But you know, I'm also going back to Manu Katché and some older drummers and Jack DeJohnette as well. So come back next week and it'll be something completely different. Mickey Dolenz from the Monkees, even. You know, like.
Oh, why not? Why not? Pete, at the moment, who are you listening to, and who's your favourite drummer this week?
At the moment, it's all about music that I'm listening to. So at the moment, I'm really liking John Hollenbeck on this record by Bob Brookmeyer called Spirit Music.
Yeah.
Which is, you know, if I had to pick one album I can't live without, it's probably going to be this.
Desert Island Discs, yeah.
Also this week, I've been listening to this record, and, you know, there's some pretty good drums on that too. And also this Phil Seaman box set, which is just, you know, it's how good some of those British jazz musicians were in the 1950s. It's mind blowing, and also some Mel Lewis, of course, and finally some of the best Joe Jones you'll ever hear, and all these trio tapes with Teddy Wilson in the 1950s.
I gotta get you to write these down. I gotta check this out. Was that was Philly Joe Jones at the end?
No, Papa Joe.
Papa Joe.
Yeah. Teddy Wilson.
My favorite
1950s.
Oh, cool.
Put that down. Put that away.
Put it down. You might break it.
All week. It's my favourite drummer so far this week.
Yeah. Guys, what's your favourite drummers? We've got Paul Swindle said he's got Picaro, Daniel Freakles like Nate Smith. Put your drummers down. Let's see it. I'll tell you mine at the moment. It is very, very. It goes week to week. But I've recently just gone back to a couple of people. Literally because I just like the style of the playing, and basically I'm actually, although I haven't got I haven't been to see anyone for a lesson or something for quite a few years now. Something I do is like every other year kind of thing. But I've been like trying to learn from these different guys, learn like some of the grooves, obviously, because obviously it's the case where if people ask you, can you play this style or that style, you can go, well, it's that particular drummer we've discussed before. It's obviously our dear friend to the Palace Drum Kit, Todd Zuckman at the moment, and I'm basically been practicing very hard the impossible lick, which is down. The impossible lick is down. It's not impossible anymore.
It's not impossible then, is it?
No, it's not impossible. If I can do it, anybody can do it.
Did he do that on Drumeo?
Ask for your money back.
I didn't pay for it. I nicked it. Yeah, he did it on Drumeo. Yeah.
I checked that out a while ago.
Sorry, Pete.
Here's a thought. Here's a record. It's kind of quite proggy. Vinny's on it, and it's by an outfit that goes by the somewhat ludicrous name of Purposeful Porpoise. The album is called The Water Games, and it's got Vinny on it. And somebody recommended it to me, and I bought it, and I completely hated it. What I try to do now, and this is why I just happen to have, I'm here in my usual spot behind my practice set, and I've got a whole load of records that I'm listening to while I'm practicing. And it's like, okay, what's this music? That's question one. And then start thinking about who the drummer is.
Yeah.
Are you getting something from this music? Oh yeah, this is the playing is great, the recording is great, what's going on conceptually is great. And when that's all cool, that's when I start thinking about who's playing the drums. To me, that's priority number two. I used to buy certain drummers who I grew up idolizing. I would buy any record they were on, and it just so happens that most of them were pretty good, but some of them were not so good. And it's music first, drummer second.
I've actually bought albums from the people you saw you growing up listening to. I was like, what is this album all about? It's horrendous, because it's something or other that just didn't comb with me. But okay, we've got some. Ben Roberts, drummer Don Flamaro, Graham Mitchell, Dave Brown, Buddy Rich. That's no surprise there. Mike Tubman said,
I like him too.
Yeah,
he's very good.
Yeah, he's all right. He's fine. He's all right. John Bradbury, special with Mike Tubman. Josh says, Josh Holmes, Glenn Power from The Scripts has always been my biggest influence and drummer. Claudine's just gone on. Hello. Claudine.
I love The Script.
Yeah. So, Glenn, it's basically, I suppose, it's like who you've grown up, who you listen to, because obviously, we've got different generations. People are watching the different generations that actually on the chat show at the moment. So it just really all depends, basically, what it is. But I think it's, Pete's actually nailed it. Really.
Yeah. So, sorry, I just feel I need to come in here quickly.
Sure.
Let's not just forget about the generational thing. Just forget about whether you're a millennial, Generation X, or a baby boomer, or whatever the hell. Just forget all that shit and just listen to 100 years of great music and just be inspired by everything. And if we could just, we touched on The Script for a moment, and here's something that will cause a lot of amusement to everybody. My only appearance ever in a pop video is in the video for The Script song Millionaires, where
they shot at your house. Yeah.
No, what they did was it's all these kids going around having a good time, and they go into like an old kind of 1970s pub, which was actually, the location was actually the Ephra Social in Brixton, and there's this band, and they filmed it at like they filmed it at like 30 frames per second, and then played it back in the video at 24. So we look like we're really playing slowly. And we are the pub band in the video for Millionaires by The Script. That is to say, my one sole appearance in a pop video, and I'd like to publicly thank Bob Knight for booking me to do it.
Nice.
Brilliant.
Check that out sometime.
Well, Josh Holmes just said, I knew I recognised Pete from somewhere. Amazing video. So there we are. He's also been on the side of milk cartons as well, but that's a different story. But no, it's just like, keep them going, guys. Obviously, keep your questions coming in. I do see a lot of people that obviously have tuned in for the first time today. Thank you very much for watching. Please like the Palace Drum Clinic page, and you'll get more fantastic things like this. And obviously, when we get back to it as well, some live stuff we're basically doing as well. So there's lots of things planned. So we're going on. So even if you're abroad, you can still do lots of stuff with the Palace Drum Clinic, because we're going very much heavily online for our wider audience around the world, as we've basically got it in this last 3 or 4 months, which is fantastic. So thank you, guys. Julie Horn said, Mike, what's your most memorable moment that you've had as a drummer? And do you have any advice for starting the drums? Well, first of all, just don't. No, it's a great instrument. It's probably the best instrument I possibly could ever play. But Mike, first of all, any memorable moments? Be many. We have a clean one, please.
I was actually just talking about this. I just did this interview on Wednesday, so I was just talking about this very instance. But I was touring. I can't remember who I was playing for, but we were playing somewhere here in Canada. This is probably I haven't been in it that long, so this is probably maybe 10, 12 years ago or something like that. And we were playing this really crappy community center kind of thing. But they had me up on this drum riser that it's still one of the highest things I've ever been on. It was a good 8-10 feet up. So I'm sitting on this thing, and during sound check, just playing, and I kind of noticed it was really rocking a lot. I'm like, I don't think this is right. I'm like, this is moving too much. The whole thing just went and fell from within, and I fell inside my drums and sort of just collapsed down. I don't know. I was just thinking about that the other day. It's really brilliant.
Did you walk away unscathed, though? That's the whole thing. Did you walk away unscathed? Was it a great?
I was very scared. It was it was like when you sit in a chair and the chair just breaks from underneath you. I was petrified. And then I had to get back up and do the gig by then.
We have to do that.
I'm just gonna play on the floor,
I think we hit on this a few weeks ago, but I'll ask the guys as well. Rob, any memorable moments?
Bad moments, embarrassing moments. Are we talking?
Okay, right. Rob, I think it's about time now. We need an embarrassing moment from you. You've been quite clean cut throughout the whole thing. So let's have a really good embarrassing moment, please. One you can say, please.
Okay. Well, I got set up once by some musicians. Can you imagine they would do that to me or any of us?
Musicians are very straight and narrow. Completely.
They are. Yeah, these ones were very, wonky and large, because what they did, I had a bit of an upset stomach, which a lot of my touring friends will know isn't that unusual. But before I went on stage, I was wearing a suit, and someone had lifted the back part of my jacket and folded some toilet paper in the back of my pants and my trousers, and it was kind of a trail behind me, a bit like a wedding dress. So I had to walk through the audience in this venue. The dressing room was through. You had to sort of go by the people and wave to them and go to the back. So it's a venue in Bath, a local city. It holds about 200 people or something. It's called the Chapel Arts. It's a lovely little venue. Anyway, so I come back through not knowing. So, of course, all the audience are clapping us as we come back, and they're watching this drummer go up the aisle with all this toilet paper flailing behind him. I still don't know. I do the second set, finish, and the female singer says, and on drums, Rob Ryan. So I stand up to take my bow, and as I looked down, I could see this trail of toilet paper. And all the band were just waving and smiling, and it was just... It was just horrible. I just wanted the stage to collapse on me, actually. So that was probably, a bit of a nasty moment, but very,
I suppose you could say you had a clean set that evening, really.
Hey!
Yeah. Pete, will come to you. You was in deep thought there to see which one you could actually, retract from your memory.
There's no look. Listen, there is no issue whatsoever with recollection. My memory is very powerful and accurate. It's just whether or not discretion permits the telling of such stories. And because we have a special guest from Canada today, I think that you'd have to be British to entirely get the gist of one of the most memorable stories that I have. So I think I'm going to be discreet and just refrain from going any further. But it does involve a well-known television comedian and a popular singer from the 1960s. But more than that, I'm not prepared to divulge at this juncture.
It'll be in the book.
It'll be in the book.
Nobody will read it. Nobody will read it.
If you know, or if you want to make up anything regarding what Pete said, please put it in the comments. I'll read the best ones out, and you may win. I don't know.
There are a very small number of people who actually know, but they're probably not watching.
Yeah. Well, who is watching? Stefan Korth. Hello. Nice to see you, Stefan. For me, I'm afraid this. I think I've done quite a few embarrassing ones. The most memorable for me would have to be when I was working with Ravi Shankar. I think that was the most memorable gig I've virtually ever done in my entire life. The reason being, obviously, working with a great man and his band and everything else. But the way we actually played the gig. It was at Dartford International Summer Festival, and then there was the queue. And it was a great hall, actually twice as large as the capacity. And all the producers and everything came and said, "We've got another audience. Would you mind doing it?" And everyone, without hesitation, said yes. So we basically did a back-to-back concerts with Ravi Shankar, and we didn't want to get paid for the second one. It was just basically for the love of it, and what a great experience. And I'll hold that dear to my heart. So that's most memorable for me. So I usually don't talk about these things, but there we are. Because
I obviously misinterpreted it. I thought these were supposed to be embarrassing.
I know, that's what I did.
I did too.
It's the most memorable. Do you know what I mean? So that's the most memorable. And so I have obviously, so I told you once, was I literally just on knife edge like that when my stool collapsed and I kept on playing and falling off the stage at Cleo Lowe's back garden. You know, all those kind of things. We could just
one of my memorable stories also comes from Cleo Lowe's, just because it was one of those maybe dozen times in 43 years of doing gigs where everything just fell into place and I could just play everything I could think of. That was in Cleo's back garden 5 years ago.
Yeah, it's a special place, that back garden, isn't it? It really is.
Back gardens go, yes it is.
Yeah, just got a
permanent... Of all the back gardens I've ever played in, that's got to be right up there.
It is, isn't it? Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, it's just Gordon Kerr.
It's so tidy as well.
That's amazing. So all those chairs in a row, how do I keep them there?
There's not like
Gordon Kerr's just put funny moments. I like this video of the cross take out of a church drummer. He's put a link in there. Please, guys, watch it. That's good. Going back to your story, Rob. Mike's just put, Rob, were you playing Wipeout at the time?
Whoa! Well, I hope I wasn't playing Brown Sugar.
That's absolutely. So still people putting in their favourite drummers. Thank you very much. So let's get back to some normality here.
Normality. What are you talking about?
Normality. We're in lockdown, for goodness' sake.
Yeah. We've got one from Peter Williams for Mike. It says, "Hi Matt, hello Mike, Peter. Sorry, Peter Williams. Hi Peter. I've watched quite a few of Mike's drum cam videos. The noise from the crowd is sometimes deafening. Has he ever been put off or lost his place during the song?"
Very early on, after starting to work with a teen pop star, I learned how loud the crowd were. So like his vocal mic is so quiet in my ears for that very reason. Like they get so loud. And even if I've tried having him off entirely in specific rooms. But then just the crowd coming through my drum mics sometimes like compete with my drums because like it's that specific scream too of like the sort of younger girl that's very high pitched and constant. So I have never actually. The first show I came very close. The first show I ever played with them, and then I tweaked it very quickly. I haven't had the issue yet. Knock on wood.
It's also one from Julie Horn. It's saying, I'll come to you guys in a minute about that one. Mike, when did you know the drums was for you and not another instrument, and why?
I've talked about this so many times. I think even with you, Matt. But my uncle had this drum set when I was growing up, and it was like a Ludwig kit from 1974 with like this just massive 2 toms across each bass drum, like double bass drum. And there was something about it that just reeked of cigarettes and alcohol and like clubs and parties and just all that kind of stuff. So I just remember, like, I was like 5, 6 years old, and I remember coming in, and it was just like, it's more than just an instrument. It's like, this is, something that people dance to. This is something that, people like really gravitate towards. And there was just something about it that I loved. I loved that whole aspect, just even more so than just an instrument. I didn't feel like I tried playing piano, and I mean, I play piano a little bit now, but like, as my main instrument, I tried piano and I tried a little bit of guitar, but nothing did it for me like drums.
It does cool you, doesn't it? It's like, the rhythm of the drum, especially. It's like
really, girls like drummers way more than come on.
Yeah. Let's carry on. Let's carry on. Let's just go.
Four drummers. Nobody's gonna do it.
Yeah. But it's just like Neil, sort of what Peter Williams had to say about obviously it's like losing your place. Is there what is the kind of advice? Because obviously we've all done that sound check where everything's absolutely perfect. When it actually comes to the gig, you can't hear that kind of thing. What kind of advice can we actually give to people out there who suffer the same situation, Rob? Because you must have been in that situation many times.
Well, even from an early age, I guess drummers are blessed with the skill of sight reading. Obviously, we know we need to do that, but we also, I think, we're born with really good ears, and we learn to listen. And there are many times, even when I'm working in situations with musical directors, I've learned not only my part, but I've learned not literally the parts of the notes, but I know exactly when people come in, and I'm that guy who'll sit in a hotel room or at home, and I'll write out, well, keyboard comes in, the string sound comes in there. So when we're running the act through without the singer, like you do in production, and you're just doing the tracks through, I'm usually the one that stops and says, I think something comes in there, or I could cue you, and so learning the songs inside out, not just your part, but understanding when the singer comes in, when the horns come in, whatever your situation may be, learning it inside out. I mean, you don't want to be sat at the back sort of telling everyone what to do all of the time, but just kind of, I've said before, we're like little golden retrievers of the band. We keep everybody happy, we keep the groove happy, we keep the feel happy, and we can also help out with, well, I think actually what happens here is you come in, I believe that's what, and usually I have my laptop with me to say, well, let's just check it, and even if I know I'm right, and I'll say, oh, yeah, that's where it comes in. That kind of stuff, just being a good, decent person and being able to have personable skills, I think really helps. Which again, it's something that no drum books or people talk about, unless Pete has mentioned it a lot, which is fantastic, because with it, it's the experience. You learn those skills when you're on the job and you watch other people do it. And I've also I've watched people shout people down. It's wrong, and that's no good either. There has to be a way to sort it out. So young musicians, learn the whole song, listen to the whole thing, be attentive to everything. Because that time you can't see the singer go to the mic, if you know it's 8 bars before they come in or 4 bars, and if they miss it, you could always give a little fill to welcome them back in and say, right, here you go, and hand it on a plate, things like that. That's what I've learned in my 30 odd years of tough stuff.
So Pete would basically know your stuff and homework, and I suppose that's the key to
it. Exactly, homework, yeah, preparation, and preparation. And then preparation H.
We're back there again. Well, I think that's for you.
A lot harder than you think.
Yeah. But no. Seriously, just knowing what you're there to do, and being quietly and pleasantly confident. That's what people want from us. They want to feel confident with what the drummer's laying down. The signposts, the dynamics, the groove, the tempo. Just knowing, having that metronome in your head, not having have a metronome at the side of your drum set, even checking it before, just knowing it before you go, and having those reference points to the tempo of every piece of music in the set, if you are counting it off. And even if you're not counting it off, because if it's somebody other than the drummer who's calling those tempos and doing that, the likelihood is they're probably going to get it wrong at some point. And just being able to very quickly compensate and bring things back right where they are. Just being prepared. Just, being a Boy Scout. Know the job that you've got to do inside out before you even start to do it. And sometimes that's not possible, because sometimes you're in a situation where you're just going to turn up and somebody's going to put a whole book of music in front of you and you've got to play it right now. But having the experience to be able to do that as well is a really, really important skill. And it's an important skill that if you can do that, you're going to be more employable than if you can't. If you have to learn everything, by rote over a lengthy period of time, then you're going to be locking yourself out from a whole area of work where if somebody puts a chart in front of you, look at it, right, make it into some music, that's really going to stand you in good stead and keep you busy.
Talking about learning, well, what we have got is at the Palace Drum Clinic, we've actually got a couple of new courses starting actually online, starting on the 27th of this month, the end of the month. PD courses, as basically a 4-week course. The first 3 pads is like going on just on the pad. So week 1 will be something, week 2 something, and then week 4 actually transferring all of that onto the drum kit. So if you are interested out there, guys, because I know you guys basically like really trying to home in on lots of different skills throughout it. It will be myself to start with. So it's the PD courses. If you go to the palacedrumclinic.com, go on the events, PD courses there, sign up, and it's actually a great bargain at the moment as well if you sign up for all 4 weeks. So please look at that. So it's PD courses online, also it's on the Facebook as well. It'll take you a link to the sign up page. But it's like all 4 weeks if you want it. They're an hour and a half sessions. It's only $49.99, so there we are. So that's for the full 4 weeks, and then there'll be another one just after the summer. So thank you very much. It's one of those things where we've had a question from, if I can just quickly find it, from Paul Swindles. He says, is there any advice to get superior groove and feel? Well, to be honest, first of all, we've discussed it many times, but obviously it's experience, but it's knowing what you need to do. So like what Pete said, it's the homework kind of, so it's the preparation. But you can't, can you learn experience? I don't think you can. Mike, how do you basically got your experience? Literally from grinding out, is it? Or literally just from listening to people?
Yeah. I mean, it's something I'm still constantly working on. I'm nowhere near at the point where I'm totally confident with my groove within all kinds of different styles and stuff. So I'm always working on that. But I found a very good way was to sort of play with the click at first, but sort of find where you're ahead of the beat, where you're on the beat, and where you're behind the beat. And then through kind of doing that, I was able to sort of just kind of quickly kind of move through different feels and such, and kind of have a good idea physically and mentally of where to kind of sit within the click. So I kind of did a lot of stuff like that, and just listening to music. I think that's the number one. Listening to like you said, just listen. Sorry, I'm pointing Pete. Like you said, just listen to as much music as you possibly can from all kinds of different styles.
I think we have to come back to the old phrase that dear old Gary Orcutt says. It's like, are you playing music or are you playing the drums? It's music first and foremost, isn't it? It just happens we're playing a drum instrument. It's the difference, isn't it? We've just put up on the actual comments line the link to basically where you can go to the PD courses. So please click on there. It's a bargain, I think, for the amount of stuff that you're going to do. And as I say, it's going to be very good. It's a very sort of miniature version of the PD camp, the Palace Drum Camp, which is happening again in February. But that's we talked about enough about that for a previous one. We've got I suppose this is hi Sharon Elizabeth's watching. Hi Auntie Margaret, it's my auntie. I have to say this. Hello Mum, it's her birthday today. I've got those over. I forgot to do it at the beginning. I won't get shot. It's fine. With rituals, do we have any rituals before performing? It's from Julie Horn. Obviously, she has said, "What's your biggest dream as a drummer, Mike?" I don't know if that means like it's big drum Mike, or is it aimed towards you, Mike? But it's if you got any, I'll actually ask the guys: is what's your biggest dream as a drummer? What's your mood board? Where's your future board? What have you got on it?
I know this is one area that I'm always lacking in. I can never come up with one thing, but my dream has always been to just be able to make enough money to live and to be able to, so I don't know if that's so much a dream. It's just been a dream to do this as a job, I guess. So
Yeah.
if I can continue doing that, I think I'll be living my dream. I know that's not very fun, but I can never think of I want to do this, or I've been very fortunate to be able to knock a lot of those off. One of them being Wembley in the lovely England.
Yeah. In that case, Mike, would your dream be living the dream?
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
Whoa.
That's a bit deep for you. Look at that. Come on.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
It's not very fun, but I mean that's. It's
I think it is a job for us at the end of the day. But what a job we have. It's like for me, it's not a chore going to work. It's just like I get annoyed when I can't go to work. I know people out there with normal jobs. I go, yeah, got a day off. But yeah,
seeing COVID.
Yeah, but it's Rob. Rob, would you say the same thing?
Exactly the same thing, because along the way, some of those things, with drum mags being in different things, certain venues, you kind of, if you keep your career going and just are centered on what you want to do, fortunately, a lot of those things come to you along the way. I think the sort of not 10-year-old me probably would have had a list, but when you start working in the arena and you start moving forward, that kind of disappears, and you don't. Sometimes I suppose you do have to sit back and take stock and think, oh, that's really cool. That, the Grammy, this, that, and the other. That's brilliant, But really, you're just always moving forward because, like I think you said, Matt, once, if you think you're at the end, then you may as well give up. And I'm like Mike said, and I think Pete was nodding, and you were, just to be doing this every day. And like I say, this week I've been programming for an artist on the Lynn drum all day, so I've been trying to get that to work, and which has been a chore. But it's what I love doing. And next week I'll be recording an album with someone. It's just, this is the dream. There's no point searching for anything else because it's going to be like a Twilight Zone episode, and things will get a bit funky, and I don't want that to happen. So I'm just really happy going.
Because Pete, you've literally said it in quite a few weeks that you're actually on a stage right now where you're happy with basically what you're drumming, who you're with, and basically what you're doing, aren't you?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, something that I wrote that found its way into one of the national papers a couple of weeks ago actually touched upon this. When I was 5 or 6 years old and really starting to figure out what things were all about, and what these drums, these instruments that are around our house actually did, I had this kind of very innocent image of this grown-up drummer that I'd like to be, and that's exactly who I've turned out to be. So all those boxes that I had, all the things that made me want to get good at playing and still make me want to improve what I'm doing, have all been ticked. So it's like now I'm kind of in overtime, and everything is for me, and everything is a bonus, and anything else that comes around the corner and is interesting or challenging or advantageous is just kind of more icing on the cake, because all those things that I wanted to do, and I never set out to have gold records hanging on the wall of my man cave or play in arenas, but all the things that I did in as I say, my very kind of innocent, childish way aspire to do, I've actually ended up doing. And I think it's very important for everybody out there, whatever stage of their career they're at, is to hold on to those things that really got you fired up in the first place. And, you know, even if your career is taking you somewhere else, just keep them on the back burner somewhere, and just kind of look after them and nurture them. And sooner or later, you know, it's quite likely that they're going to come around and pay you the dividend that was your initial investment in getting into all this right at the beginning.
Yeah, I can remember when I was at school. I think it was the last day of school, kind of in high school, so I was only 16. It's like, you know, they come around, it's like, oh, you're into music. It's like, what do you want to do in life? And I basically like got a tick list. I ticked that off when I was like early 20s. And I was like, well, I don't know where to go from now. And now I've got the case where I you know, if a new student comes to me, the first thing I sit down and say, right, why the drums then? I want to be a famous drummer. I said, right, stop you there now. You will not be a famous drummer if you think you'll be a famous drummer. First of all, and this is my belief, and this is basically one of my goals and aims, I want to be well known in my field for what I do.
Well, how is that different? How is that different from being famous?
Well, I'm not. Well, you're not famous. I don't want to be. I don't want to basically have the fame and everything else. So basically, I want to have that sort of person who walks down the street going, "Do you know what? I really enjoyed that guy who played down at my local club. I don't know who that was. That's in my field. It's not a difference like on TV getting the X Factor fame or that kind of fame, or being like in a big band. I just want to be known for like, you know, well, doing like, you know, for like running the Palace Drum Clinic well. I'm very happy, you know, it's run in that kind of field. It's like, I'm not asking, it's like, you know, I want to get to like that big gig that basically takes me on a world tour. If it happens, it happens. Timing is everything, as we've discussed it before. I'm not worried about that. I'm basically worried about that. I want to do the best I can do so people know me for what I can do. And that is basically, you know, hopefully I've explained that in a kind of way. So it's not an arrogant kind of way. It's just like, I'm doing what I'm doing, and I want to be like, you know, so people go, do you know what? I want to go to that Palace Drum Clinic because it's great. It's like, love what they're doing. The guests they're getting on the line, so the guests they get in real life, and it's just a fantastic evening kind of thing. That's basically where I want to be. Is that kind of, you know, that's not a dream. It's basically just like it's. I suppose it's a mission in my life. You know, I want to be, you know, doing well, and not necessarily get the recognition of, you know, your X Factor stuff like that, but get the recognition of the person walks down the street and go, I enjoyed your class.
I'm gonna come back at you then. I mean, who the hell gives a damn about X Factor? You're renowned and respected for what you do, which is way more important, has way more gravitas, and is way more meaningful than being, you know, this week's X Factor star who's on the page 7 of the Sun for a fortnight and then, you know, gone and forgotten. What you're doing is it's long lasting and it's meaningful. It's not like here today and gone tomorrow. So it's in that regard, it's much more of an achievement.
Well, thank you very much, and it's like I will make sure I continue on that path and make sure that we have all these.
Yeah, you better. Yeah. Otherwise, you're going to have to talk to me about that.
I don't want to go see Uncle Pete. No,
you don't. No, you don't.
Yeah, but yes, it's like it's everyone has their dreams, but as I say, it's we're all living the dream, you know, because at the end of the day, what a beautiful instrument we have, what versatility we have, and if we can do it and actually get paid to do it, well, we're all living the dream, aren't we? Pete actually has come back. Pete Williams has come back to say, my dream would be to see Robert Bryan back teaching at NAMM Studios very soon. There we go.
Tomorrow, come over tomorrow.
There we are. Your dream is short-lived. It's tomorrow.
I can do tomorrow if you want.
There we go. It's one of those things, I suppose. You know, it's like, you know, are we going back to so it's what Pete said? You know, it's you know, we want, you know, we need the audience. You know, what do you want? Basically, want us to hear and all kind of stuff. We want to hear the stuff that you want to hear. You know, it's like, you know, someone asked me the other day, so what is that particular item worth? I said, well, it's only worth to what someone will pay for it. You know, it's like, you know, will they go out? Looks like go out, but it's, you know, once we're, you know, this. I just have to do this because this is the whole thing. So the whole kind of, I know we're not political on this, but I just want this as a little plea to everybody. It's that things are starting to move on. There's things to start. So on August the 1st, we can do this and that. No, we can't do it. There's basically things are going to happen to see if we can do it. But if we're careful, we can do those things. But if we're not, we'll be still sitting here moaning about it in several months' time. So
Yeah.
please do not jump the gun on this. You know, we will get back to doing what we love the best, but let's just take time and make sure we can do it to our best abilities and sustain it. That is my little thing to everyone.
This is why they should start off with just jazz gigs, because it's much more easy to social distance with a jazz audience.
Definitely.
There's plenty of room.
Yeah. What's the point of trying to get in arenas? Don't worry about that. You know, football stadiums, they earn enough. Footballers earn enough. Jazz musicians don't.
Totally right.
I keep on seeing these pictures.
This is our time.
I keep on seeing these pictures where it's like, oh, I've been playing social distance gigs for the last 20 years.
Yeah.
The club with nobody there.
Nobody wants to come and sit next to me, I'll tell you that. Yeah. And as on cue, happy birthday, Mum. She's just logged on, so there we go. So there we go. Mike Tomzo said, I have an outdoor gig on August the 1st. Good luck with that. Just take care. Just take care. But it's the grand scheme I'm talking about.
Where is it? Can we come?
Yeah, can we come, Mike? Outdoor, or is it in someone's back garden? Well, he'll answer that in a second. But it's it's one of those things. So, but that's sorry I had to basically put that. It's just something that's been on my chest for a long time. Everyone thinks we can do this, that, and the other now. No, we can't. But if we're careful, we can do it.
Well, and again, that's not the way the industry works. Anyway, they say, okay, we're going to ease restrictions on August 1st. That doesn't mean our diaries are going to be full from August the 2nd onwards. That's not how it works. If they lift restrictions on August the 1st, you might get a gig late September if you're lucky. And again, this is the misconception of the industry to the general public.
Yeah,
you know, there's lead time in everything. So it could be 6 months, it could be a year, it could be 2 years. And occasionally things will happen at the 11th hour, and you thought you might be at a loose end tomorrow, but you're going to end up playing a show for somebody. But that is very much in the minority. Most of what we do requires a lot of advanced planning. It's just the way of things. People need to understand that these things don't just happen like that.
No, they won't. So, but let's right. Gripe over. Let's move on.
It's not a gripe. It's not a gripe. It's not a gripe.
Oh, it's
what it is. It is.
It is. Everyone's supposed to say I say neutral and everything, but I just had to get off my chest about that. Anyway, Connor Ross, Harrington. With such storied careers as so far, thank you very much for listening. What do you guys feel is the next step in refining your playing? Oh, this is a good one. Mike, refining your, as I say, it's the sentence really. I've got a little bit of problem with the thing, refining your playing, but I think we know what basically where Connor's trying to get onto. So.
There's a lot of different areas. There's so much to work on. My Latin sounds really bad. I'd love to get my Latin sounding better. And jazz. Whenever I don't know, maybe you guys can teach me. Like, whenever I get to jazz, I have a very, somebody's like, oh, play jazz. I go, ding, 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 ding. That's pretty much where jazz starts and ends for me. So that's another area that I would love to get more.
Pete's got some great things online, lessons and stuff like that. He's most probably one of the masters to go see. So if you've got time at the moment, have a chat with Pete.
Not doing a whole lot.
Have a chat with Pete.
Thank you for the plug.
Yeah, no problem. Rob, refining. It's that word, isn't it? Refining. I have a little bit of a conundrum with, I suppose. Where would you like to say you're playing? I suppose, isn't it, at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, I know Connor. I know kind of where he's going with that. And hi, Connor. Always groove. Groove and timing. Always those kind of specific things in whatever I'm doing. Always working on, well, with Lorena, I'm working on my ears all the time. I've got to watch and I've got to listen. I've got to follow her. So there's no point laying a groove down because I have to go with her. So, you know, and I love that. Some drummers hate it that she's worked with. Some named drummers have really disliked it. I'm very happy to do that. So, you know, working on that constantly, and I can only do that with her, unfortunately, and I haven't seen her for a few months. On my own, in the room, the creativity as well, just being able to improvise on the drums, more free-flowing ideas, try and orchestrate more on the drums. And that's very subjective because somebody else outside might think, oh, don't really like that. But for me, it's that journey of trying to create all those rudiments and things, you know, all those things we learn, try to let them come out musically rather than a million miles an hour of ideas. Just try and let music flow. And that's been something I've been getting into for probably the last 10 years. Because you've got John Coltrane, you know, people like that who are playing in the box, but could also play beautifully outside of the box. And actually, there was no box for them, you know, which is wonderful. So I've been trying to get into that same kind of, sort of thing, which is very hard and it's extremely subjective. But it's kind of the thing like when I played at the Palace Drum for half an hour that time, you know, I didn't mean, right, I'm going to play for half an hour because I think it's like a sport. I should do this. It's just being creative and letting things channel. And it's a bit kind of hippie-ish, I guess, but that's kind of when I've got time on my own to do that. I'm channeling that because, you know, the technique and stuff we've kind of learned, it's now trying to make music from that and try and speak, you know. I mean, it's the thing of, like, very quickly, Bill Evans, the jazz piano player, you know, was a wonderful player. And he could play, like, cocktail bars in New York, and he could play hip jazz clubs in New York where there'd be chin strokers there. But he could also play to people dining, but he would never let his playing suddenly cheapen up or get easier to listen to, you know, but everyone could connect with what he was doing. And that's hard to do with drums, you know, so I'm on this little kind of, probably foolish, I don't know, but I'm on this little crusade to try and, you know, make my playing talk to drummers, but also to the everyone.
Are you making mojito?
At the same time. Sorry, you know.
Are you making mojito?
Mike's on mojitos, by the sounds of things, yeah.
I'd love one.
Yeah.
I heard the thing go.
Yeah. It's obviously just to put out there. Rob's stories obviously has got Mike to drink, so there we are. Yeah.
Back out the booze, love.
Yeah.
I know all the sounds for all my favorite drinks.
Yeah. Connor has actually put refining is now banished from my vocabulary. He said,
no.
Yeah, but what he's trying to say, what are you enjoying working on? So Pete, we'll come to you for that question because I'm seeing.
Well, I'm on a real kind of Indiana Jones tip at the moment. I'm in the digging around in the tomb of Tutankhamun at the moment.
Hey!
Because in about 1996, I had a little bit of downtime, and I just kind of came up with this stupid new way of doing left-hand traditional grip, and then went on a long tour of Japan, and was able to actually develop it. And then I came back and went back into the normal run of everyday life. I was doing this big band tour around Japan for 5 weeks, playing two solos a night, and my playing just went right up. And then I came back to the kind of everyday things that I had to do, and it went away. And in lockdown, I've been able to revisit that, and it made me look again at the two original mass market drum methods, the Gene Krupa drum method from 1938 and the Buddy Rich snare drum rhythms from 1942. And there's a fundamental error. It is at best an oversight and at worst an error in those two books. And all the study that we've done since the late 30s, early 40s, it all comes down. It's all trickled down from those books. And there's something about this stick grip that the drummers used to do that I've found subsequently in much earlier drum books, a couple of which are actually British, that totally got lost when those two books came out. And it's amazing. It's fascinating. And I'm just having a lot of fun working on that at the moment. It's never going to get me a gig. It's never going to make me a whole lot of money, but it makes me very happy and it makes me want to practice every day.
Absolutely.
I love it.
Yeah, good for you, man.
I think it's those little things. Yeah, because it's like, I never really sat down and had chance, because I think I was actually talking to Rob quite a few weeks ago about this. It's like, throughout my whole education, I've been very blessed, basically going through music college and stuff like that. But it's on the classical side. But I always kept my drum kit playing, and I've only really had like a handful of drum kit actually lessons. It's always been hand technique and stuff like that. So over this lockdown period, it's like over the last couple of years, I've been trying to develop my bass drum. And this kind of time has actually given me so much stuff. Now my bass drum just feels okay. Yeah, I've changed pedals and all kind of stuff. We tweak this, that, and the other kind of. But it's the actual physical kind of like doing the with one foot. I want to get my foot basically smoother, be able to play doubles quicker as well. And you can't do that when you're physically playing on a gig. So this time's actually really enhanced that. So I've actually been in love just playing one bass drum. And doing lots of different stuff, creating exercises for it. So what I can do with this, working in different numbers, and it's like one of the things I actually saw again today is the Gavin Harrison, paradiddles. But then you basically put your feet in paradiddles, but going threes against the fours. And I showed Rob this the other week. It's like, I said, well, that's great. It's like sat down, worked at it. But I thought, well, let's see if we can push this a little bit more. So we've got threes against fours. So just doing here, why do we actually emphasise the actual the pad, the accent kind of thing that you basically use on the snare on the toms? It's orchestrated a little bit more. So sounding great. Well, I'm doing the threes now. Well, why don't I do the fours? Hang on, why don't I do fours on the 3 feet and then go threes and then go twos and then threes and then fours again? It's making little things, taking something, go, do you know what, I can sort of orchestrate it, I can expand it. I've really been enjoying myself doing that. Again, what Pete said, it won't never get me a gig. But from it, you just never know what you can, you can create. And it's like you just find a little more independence here and there. I just love making these little things up from just a little snippet of what someone can do. And I was like, right, what can I do it? Because my brain just goes like that sometimes. And it's the kind of thing. So my kind of thing has been really basically just messing about and developing the bass drum. That's been the biggest thing for me. But see what I can orchestrate and push different things into different areas. And I've been really enjoying it. I really have been enjoying it. Guys, I've just noticed the time. We've been people are basically going saying, thank you, gentlemen.
Roll credits.
Yeah, great shows and all that kind of stuff. Guys, Dan Bash, early people coming to watching, so thank you for watching. But we're back. We're nearly there. Andrew Downs, thank you very much. Good choice, Mike. Mojito is my favourite cocktail too. So there we go. So we do have some cocktail-loving people.
You got to have my fiancés. They're delicious.
It's actually fine. Just a quick one about cocktails. We had Pete Lockett on a few weeks ago. And actually, June the 13th, just looking at the thing. Took him out. The first thing he basically just had a cocktail. Again, it must be a drummer thing. Cocktails.
It's got to be.
So Dave Patrick, thanks guys, no problem at all. Thank you for watching. Just remember, we've got several things coming up. Obviously, we've got next week, which obviously will be the 25th. We'll be live again at 8:30. Please, obviously, if you're watching for the first time, Palace Drum Clinic page, like it, because obviously the more likes we get, the more obviously love we can spread. If you're watching on replay, if you lasted this long, please put hashtag replay. We also got another group, the Palace Drumming Group, club, Palace Drumming Club, which obviously is a bit more interactive. I'm actually doing a live demonstration, just half an hour on Monday evening at 8 o'clock. We put a poll out there, just applying rudiments to drum kit, stuff like that. So it's I'm having a bit of fun with it as well. So you can log on to that. It's completely free for live on the actual club. So it's the Palace Drumming Club. You'll see me demonstrating at 8 o'clock on Monday evening. And again, the big thing we're doing at the moment, obviously, is the Palace drum courses. The first one starting on the 27th of this month. If you want to know a bit more, obviously there is there's a link actually in the comments, or just basically go to palacedrumclinic.com and just click on events, and the Palace drum courses there to sign up. So it's my time. Thanks so much as ever, gentlemen. A most pleasant evening. What's happened to Mike's margaritas? Dania wants to say. It's like, have you cracked the whip? Where is it? Come on. Where is it? Don't know. Guys, thank you ever so much for everything. Thank you very much for supporting us throughout this whole kind of, it's literally been a whole entire 3 months of this PD chat show. It is gaining in popularity.
This is the longest lasting gig I've ever had.
Yes, I think it is, isn't it? And I don't know about you, it's like the week goes so quickly, and I'm so glad it has, because I can only say thank you ever so much to my regular panel members, Pete, Kate, and Rob Bryant, for spending a great Saturday evening as always, and I look forward to this moment every time. And thank you ever so much once again to Mike Sleath, who's obviously all the way from Canada, and he still hasn't got his mojito. So big round of applause. Yeah, but thanks so much. Mike's just started his afternoon drinking. We'll actually carry on. But guys, thank you so much for watching. Remember everything I said, but if in doubt, just go to palacedrumclinic.com. It's all on there. It'll be absolutely fine. Again, if you want anyone who basically is not on Facebook, send them a link, this will be on my YouTube site 24 hours after we press stop. So thanks so much, guys. You stay safe. It's, again, good night from Pete and Rob. And thank again, Mike, for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you, guys, and stay safe, and we'll see you next week. All the best. Good night.
Bye, guys.